I am very impressed. Governor Nixon walks in and the crowd quiets immediately. That's amazing. I don't know if any other governor could have pulled that off in the same way. I'd like to welcome you here. Thanks for coming, and thanks to the governor for making our institution a part of the celebration. I want to thank our political leadership, the governor, the legislators for what they've done, because I think you've done something very important. And I want to take a few minutes to thank you and give you a little bit of background as I see it. My story is that maybe as long as 15 years ago, 3 scientists at Washington University developed a switch for putting information quickly on and off the internet. And they tried for a couple of years to get a company started in St. Louis, and they couldn't. So they went out to the San Francisco Bay Area, immediately got space, money, advice, everything they needed, and in less than a year, the company was sold for $350 million. Most of the money and all of the jobs went out to the West Coast. And I thought to myself, we just can't have that here. This is a terrible thing for our region and for our state. And then I thought again that our special science is the life sciences. We have a lot more depth in life sciences than any other science here in this region. And especially this couldn't happen in the life sciences. So we tried to understand what was necessary to prevent this kind of thing from happening in the future. We did a study, got consultants, looked at other parts of the country, and one thing was clear. There was no silver bullet. Not one thing we needed to do, but lots of things had to happen. A lot of changes needed to be made, and that it was going to take time. Couldn't do these things overnight. So about maybe 12 years ago, we started working on these things. Now, what did we need to do? We needed a cultural change among the scientists so that there would be more opportunity and more examples of how one could take ideas from science and make commercial success out of them. We needed venture capital at different levels. Small grants for people that were starting out, small investments for starting out, and we needed larger venture capital here. So we had to begin to attract and start some venture capital. We needed a hook for hooking entrepreneurs onto science so that you could bring together those who knew how to start a business with those who understood the science. We needed space. We needed places where people could go and who had ideas and wanted to get relatively cheap space where they could begin to start up companies. We needed larger areas where people could move if the companies grew, or larger companies could come. And that's gone pretty well. We have right over here a building, commercial building for housing, particularly life sciences, but also other companies and other things that relate to what we're doing. And we have the Cortex effort in the Midtown St. Louis, which has been very successful. We needed governmental policies and governmental help from the city, from the county, from the cities, from the county, and from the state. And all of these things had to be put together in a very sensible way. And because I've been working on that for so long, I wanted to give you the background so that you can understand my appreciation for what's been done here and how important I think it is. And I'd like just to say, from the bottom of my heart, thanks to everybody who has made this possible. I've had a chance to thank the governor a little while ago, thanked him before, but I want to thank the legislators. In my opinion, we're not going to have a good state without economic development, and this is something for the future. So I'm just very, very grateful. And I hope that everybody who's part of it feels good about it. You know, I'd like to close with one other thing. The private sector has been working very hard at this, in addition to the city and the county. And the private sector has put really millions of dollars into bringing us to the point where we are so that we're ready for state legislation. And I think that you all in the future should expect no slacking off from the private sector, no slacking off from the local governments, and ought to expect that others will be in this with you too, trying to make all this work. So thank you very much, and Governor, particularly thanks to you. Thank you.
There's a good seat for you. Thank you, Dr. Danforth. None of us would be here today at this moment without you and your family's great leadership, visionary work, generosity, and willingness to see the future. It's also great to see many of our local leaders here, Mr. Dooley, members of the legislature, Senate and House. I appreciate so much, but we are very happy to be hosted here at this wonderful, best in its world place. Today marks the beginning of a new era of innovation, entrepreneurship, and economic growth in science and technology in our great state, with the signing of the MOSIRA Science and Innovation Reinvestment Act. I can't think of a more appropriate place to mark this milestone than here at the Donald Danforth Plant Science Center, the world's largest independent research institute dedicated to meeting the challenges of feeding the hungry, improving human health, and preserving and renewing the environment through plant science. I am pleased to see so many good friends and allies in the MOSIRA Working Coalition from business, academia, and government, whose help was invaluable in passing this legislation. Your support and perseverance, fighting the good fight for 3 legislative sessions in a row, was essential in getting this vital economic initiative across the finish line in the special session this summer. Now, when I was in high school down in DeSoto, I had a biology teacher, Mr. Tucker. Now, I was not his best student, but I wasn't his worst either. One day I saw him walking down the hallway holding a long string, slowly pulling something behind him. From a distance, I couldn't quite tell what it was. Something dark about the size of a hockey puck, but as I got closer and closer, I realized it was a tarantula. Now, I may not remember the equation for plant respiration or the molecular weight of zinc, but seeing my bio teacher walking through my high school with a tarantula on a leash, that's the kind of thing you never forget. Now, I think Mr. Tucker had 2 motives. First, to incite our curiosity, a trait every good scientist must have. And second, to quickly push us toward the most fundamental questions science seeks to answer. And those questions are, what's really going on here? And most importantly, why? That's as true in microbiology as it is in astrophysics. Since most of us were in high school, scientists have amassed a staggering amount of knowledge about the universe and applied it to make life on Earth a little bit better. Discoveries drive innovation, and innovation creates economic opportunity. If you're quick enough to recognize it, and as Dr. Danforth said, brave enough to jump. But science is more than a body of knowledge. It's also a way of thinking. As the late astronomer Carl Sagan said, like democracy, science isn't perfect, but it's the best we've got. And like democracy, When science works well, it makes people's lives better. Science's intrinsic value to our society lies not so much in providing us with the right answers as it does in helping us ask the right questions. Like a candle in the dark, it gives us a better sense of the obstacles we're facing, even if we can't see them clearly and can't see the solutions right away. And while science can't tell us what to do, it can help us sort through the possible consequences of different courses of action, boosting our odds of making better choices and hence fewer mistakes. This kind of thinking is critical to a society at a time when the world around us is changing at an unprecedented pace. We live in a wired world, enmeshed in a massive web of information technology that can shatter the boundaries of time, distance, and culture with the strike of a finger. As a species, we are more interdependent than at any time in human history, and keenly aware of it. What happens on one side of our shrinking planet, a nuclear meltdown in Japan, an economic meltdown in Greece, or today the challenges in Italy, or the birth of the 7 billionth human being somewhere in India. It affects people on the other side of the globe who can watch history unfold in real time. We're all in this together, and there are a whole lot of us. By the end of the century, global population is projected to be close to 10 billion. That means more competition for everything: land, food, water, fuel, and a greater need for innovative solutions, science-based solutions to the most pressing problems facing humanity: feeding a hungry world, mitigating the effects of climate change, developing sources of clean energy, protecting biodiversity, building equitable, sustainable political and economic systems around the world. And at the same time, globalization has put virtually every American job and business under increased pressure, forcing us to innovate faster and become more productive to stay ahead of our competition. Our challenge is to compete globally based not on how many widgets a worker can crank out per hour, but on applied brain power. That means we need to educate, recruit, nurture, and empower the innovators and problem solvers who are going to create the jobs, the businesses, and entirely new industries of the future. Other states, Ohio, Texas, Wisconsin, Massachusetts, Kansas, to name just a few, already have robust financial incentive funds in place that help them boost the growth of startups, create new bioscience jobs, and attract private capital and talent. So when I was elected your governor, I was determined that Missouri would embrace science and technology to create the jobs and businesses that would sustain us far into the 21st century and beyond. I knew we had to move aggressively to seize opportunities. That's why in 2009, I began working with the folks here and people all across our state to promote MOSIRA as a powerful tool that could both strengthen our economy and expand our civic capacity. The passage of MOSIRA provides Missouri with a 25-year economic growth strategy, focusing on high-growth industries in science and technology. MOSIRA will create a fund to spark the development of research and technology enterprises by capturing a small percentage of the growth in state revenue from Missouri science and innovation companies now and in the future. That revenue will be reinvested in a wide range of programs designed to attract the very best science talent to Missouri, commercialize scientific research to create new Missouri-based technology companies, recruit and build strategic science infrastructure, create a continuum of capital programs to increase access to risk capital for early-stage technology companies created or recruited to our state, and increase technology-focused entrepreneurial activity in Missouri. And we're also going to establish a highly focused workforce development initiatives all across these areas. MOSIRA will help us leverage our natural assets, from our low energy costs and central location to our outstanding high-tech workforce and our heritage of agricultural innovation. Now, you may be aware that language in the MOSIRA bill that some believe affects its implementation. I'll be working with the legislature for a simple fix to eliminate any of that uncertainty. But let me be completely clear as we stand here today. We are moving forward with MOSIRA. We know the promise it holds. We are entering a new era of innovation and entrepreneurship in Missouri, and we will be using MOSIRA as a key economic development tool. Now, we're uniquely positioned here in our state. MOSIRA is a perfect fit for our inherent assets and advantages in science, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Missouri is fortunate to already have a vibrant base of science and innovation assets in our state, where we are today. Missouri is fortunate to have a vibrant base of science and businesses. With more than 1,000 biotech, agribusiness, and life science companies, Missouri is a recognized leader in biotechnology and a growing international center for biopharmaceuticals, biomedical research, plant and animal science. Our research assets, annual operating with revenues in the billions, give Missouri a true competitive edge. Missouri is also home to the most respected policy organization in entrepreneurship, in Kansas City, the Kauffman Foundation. MOSIRA will help our existing employers compete and succeed in Missouri while creating new high-paying jobs. And it will support workforce training to meet the demand for skilled workers at all levels. But MOSIRA's greatest promise economically lies in jump-starting more entrepreneurial initiatives. As the Kauffman Foundation's research has shown year after year, startups are the principal driver of new job growth in the U.S. economy. MOSIRA will unleash the pent-up power of innovation in our laboratories and incubators, at our outstanding public and private universities, in the centers of scientific excellence like the Stowers Institute, WashU, and the Danforth Center, and even in homegrown labs and garages where some truly great ideas have been known to take root. This bill will accelerate the flow of innovations from the workbench to the marketplace, nurturing entrepreneurs and startups today that will create the high-tech jobs and industries of tomorrow. It is critical to the future of Missouri and the future of our nation that academia, industry, and government maintain a strong working partnership that is focused on innovation and entrepreneurship. MOSIRA will accelerate that synergy. We are fortunate to live in a state that has significant strengths in plant science, animal health, and biomedical research. In plant science in particular, Missouri is a leader, as the St. Louis metro area has more plant scientists than anywhere in the world who are leading the charge to create cleaner fuels, better medicines, and more productive crops. It's home to the Danforth Center, as I said before, the largest research organization in the world dedicated to plant science, the world headquarters of Monsanto, the most successful agricultural biotech company in the world. And what a wonderful boost the Danforth Center received earlier this year when the Danforth Foundation announced that it would invest an additional $70 million to expand the capacity of this research gem for our state and, quite frankly, for the world. Add to that the collective scientific resources and human capital at our outstanding public and private universities and hospitals. And of course, St. Louis is also home to one of the finest botanical gardens in the world, the best zoos in the world, and international research central to the missions of both. In animal health, Missouri is an anchor to the international recognized animal health corridor, with 120 companies and more than 20,000 private sector employees already, making it the largest concentration of animal health and nutrition companies in the world. That corridor stretches from St. Joe to Kansas City and increasingly to Columbia, and includes companies such as Boehringer Ingelheim, Teva Animal Health, AgriLabs, Nestle Purina, Pfizer Animal Health. Why am I talking about Kansas City here in St. Louis? The same reason today I talked about St. Louis and Kansas City, and the same reason I'm talking about other sectors of the state. The Missouri as a whole, our diversity puts us in a position to explode forward. With a growing number of private sector business and applied engineering material science, for example, an applied science corridor is now developing in the area between Rolla, Lebanon, Fort Leonard Wood, and Joplin. In the past year, we have seen investment and job growth in some exciting bioscience companies in Missouri. For example, in February, SCD Probiotics, a cutting-edge manufacturer of microorganisms that benefit a wide range of agricultural and other industries, announced an expansion in downtown Kansas City, creating 60 new high-tech jobs at the city center. The company was founded by Matthew Wood while he was an undergraduate at the University of Missouri in Columbia, working out of his garage. From its humble beginnings, SCD Probiotics has built a laboratory and fermentation center in downtown Kansas City and began manufacturing products using probiotic technology, capitalizing on the beneficial properties of good bacteria. Here at BRDG Park, Senmico, a subsidiary of an India-based company, plans to add 80 new jobs within the next 5 years. The company makes products to reduce the need for chemical fertilizers and increase crop yield and resistance to weeds and disease. Access to the intellectual capital of world-renowned plant scientists and exceptional facilities here were key factors in the company's decision to locate. Monsanto's continuing quest for sustainable technologies that can help farmers grow more food on less arable land with less energy, less water, and fewer chemicals is transforming global agriculture while employing thousands of researchers around the globe, including those at its headquarters in St. Louis. And in September, I cut the ribbon at a $60 million Pioneer hybrid state-of-the-art soybean production facility in rural New Madrid County. You're beginning to see the picture. We have a solid base to stand on. We aren't starting from nowhere. A lot of people have stood before us to build where we are today. We must use the powers of MOSIRA as an accelerator. I've personally, over the last couple of years, visited dozens of growing science and innovation companies and seen the impact of timely resources and early-stage capital and other support that have allowed them to leap forward. It is instructive, I think, to remember that Missouri is a state to some of the biggest science and technology corporations. We've mentioned Monsanto, we have Emerson, Sigma Aldrich, McDonnell Douglas. We can go on and on. We need to support the next generation of Missouri entrepreneurs and innovators and invest in taking their ideas and moving them forward to build companies from the grassroots up. Looking ahead, investing in science and innovation will only become more robust in Missouri as exciting new collaborations develop and the magic of synergy begins to happen. That it's important to say that not every idea will pan out. Some startups fail. But if there's one thing that science teaches us, it is to deconstruct failures, learn from them, and try again. The benefits of nourishing science and innovation, of recruiting bright and inquisitive minds, and of fostering a culture of optimism where startups can thrive go far beyond economics. Those things also raise the public's ability to understand the world we live in. By operating in the spirit of inquiry, we can make decisions that better address challenges as members of the local school board or the state legislature, or just in your everyday life. Communities that try to solve problems rather than accepting or imposing solutions dictated by ideology or dogma will thrive. We have a duty and a responsibility to see that our children are developing the critical thinking skills and the basic scientific literacy they'll need to navigate a crowded, contentious, and complex world. Because a society where very few understand the basic science behind fracking rock to obtain natural gas or genetic engineering to produce drought-resistant crops and carbon dioxide's role in trapping heat in the Earth's atmosphere is at a high risk for creating very poor public policy. We simply can't make good choices if we're shouting at each other across a chasm of ignorance. 25 years from today, different business leaders, different government officials, and different scientists will be right here, assessing the quality of the investments we will have made in the future of science and innovation through the first 25 years of MOSIRA. And based on those decisions, the people of Missouri, in my opinion, will be reaping the rewards. When I look ahead for Missouri, I see MOSIRA's unlimited potential for doing good, for improving people's lives, by investing wisely and boldly in science and innovation. I truly believe we will improve the human condition and create a safer, healthier world. Thank you very much.
you so much. Thank you.
There you go. You may as well get a bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, and thanks for a really wonderful talk, Governor, and for a wonderful send-off for MOSIRA. It's great. You know, we wanted to express our appreciation, and I think if you look carefully at Governor Nixon, doesn't he look like a scientist? So we would like to make you an honorary scientist of the Delta Danforth Plant Science Center, and to prove it, we don't have a legislative action, but we have some real evidence, and that is a lab coat with your name on it.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll wear it when I come back.
Okay, good. That is great. Now we don't have one for each of the legislators who are here, but if you need one, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you all.